All right. What's up, everybody? It's myself, Wren, and Jordan on the couches today. Jake's still on vacation.
No music.
No music.
Sorry. Screw all you guys who wanted music.
I mean, I can play like random notes on the guitar, but you know what? We don't even have the guitars in our hands. So
You
we're
have
going
the
right into
harmonic area, so you
Oh,
can.
yeah.
Oh yeah, we just figured out that I'm in like this weird acoustic spot in this room where there's like a slightly out of sync echo from me right here.
Have you ever found that thing like where you're sitting in a spot, like if you make a loud noise and like buzzes?
I've not.
You've never noticed that?
I mean, I don't go around clapping
No, but
randomly.
like maybe you're like sitting somewhere and like, you know, you laugh or like you snap your fingers, like you drop, I don't know, like you something causes a
I'm
loud
just
noise.
picturing every time Niko laughs, he's just like,
I laugh by snapping my fingers. It's polite. But you never notice like when something like buzzes weird and it echoes weird?
no, I have. Yeah, it's, I have noticed it. Acoustic shaping is interesting. It's why we have a lot of, I guess, sound absorption material in here to kind of try to reduce that. We got like, what do you call those things in the corners? Like bass boomers, bass drops, bass,
Pads.
I don't know, bass absorbers,
Foam.
something like that.
yeah, bass thumpers.
Jordan, you never noticed that when you're sitting like in a stairwell or like in the
Not
corner
like the
room?
buzzing, but I've definitely heard like my echo, and I'm like, oh, like, hello. And you just, I've definitely talked to myself for a little bit if I'm alone and I hear my echo, but I haven't heard like the. Is it like zzz?
It's like a buzz, because it's like the echo is playing and then dying out really fast. We can just hear the like the sound slightly offset from itself.
So is that a form of resonance?
Yeah, it's an
Like-
echo. It's just it's in the spot where like it's deflecting right back to.
Yeah, but resonance would be an echo that's like perfectly in sync to like make the amplitude greater,
Oh.
right?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not, because it wouldn't be. You're not like doing a note that's on the same frequency the whole time.
Is that like reverb when you're making a song?
I don't think so.
I believe reverb and echo are technically the same thing.
It's
Yeah.
like, I mean,
Technically.
harmonics, for instance, would be harmonizing.
So, anyways, Ren
on
was
that
tripping
note-
himself out.
On that note,
I don't know. I'm always reminded of probably my favorite story of Nikola Tesla from, you know, back when he was alive. There's a story where he managed to figure out the natural frequency of a building, because every
Really?
single object has some sort of frequency that's inherent to that object, and it is dictated by things like its stiffness and its density, stuff like that. And he managed to figure out, I guess, it's a story, maybe an urban legend, that he figured out the natural frequency of a building, and he built like a small little thing that vibrated at that frequency, and he attached it to the side of the building and almost shook the building down. Everyone inside was like, oh, it's an earthquake, and no one else was feeling it. That's how the story goes.
I mean,
Interesting.
maybe it's a little bit of an urban legend, but I could see something kind of happening, because that similar thing happened with the Tacoma Narrows Bridge.
Oh gosh, was it that? I forget. The way it's commonly, yes, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge definitely crashed due to something, but I can't remember the specifics of it.
I actually looked into it or researched it a little while ago.
Okay.
Because it
Was
was kind
it
of fascinating.
a harmonics thing?
Well, let me take it a step back, actually. So in school, I did this class called Physics and the Arts, which I thought was just kind of like it was a way for like art majors to get their like one physics credit that they needed to get to
Okay,
graduate.
sure, yeah.
And so like, whatever, I'll just take this class. And it ended up being a really cool class that actually went into like all these things that are now useful for like when I'm doing 3D rendering or like
Right.
sound mixing, like all these other things, camera work, like it's like real physics. It's in the arts. And one of the things that we actually talked about or studied was like the harmonic resonance. And the thing about like, so if you have like, say like a tuning fork or like a pendulum swinging back and forth, like a kid on a swing, if you are pushing at the exact same time when they're kind of reaching that apex of their swing, you don't have to put a lot of effort into each push to get them going a little bit further.
Yeah.
And that's because you're pushing them right when they're, you know, coming to a rest and getting ready for that next push. And then your push adds on to their, you know, kinetic energy, their potential kinetic energy. So it's the same thing like with like building, you know, if the top of the building rocks back and forth, like every second, as long as right on that moment when it's starting to pick up momentum in the right direction, you push just a little bit more, you only have to add a little bit at a time every time it goes back and forth, and eventually it adds up and up and up until it's swinging really hard. And so the Tacoma Narrows Bridge was built in a way where it was a suspension bridge across a river valley, and the wind would rush down this valley, and kind of like a reed in a wind instrument, the bridge would start to vibrate. You ever do the thing like you put a piece of grass between your thumbs and you blow on it and it goes like,
yeah.
yeah. So large scale that started happening with the bridge. And one day the wind was blowing at a certain speed where the bridge was wobbling, and it hit that resonance where the wind was causing the bridge to basically hit that harmonic where it would kept just adding more and more energy to itself until the bridge literally shook itself apart. And it's really crazy. There's a video of somebody running down the bridge while it's rocking left and right because their car's parked and they had to get out of it. And I think no one got killed, but
there's a video of it.
Oh yeah.
The video is nuts. Because you see like literal concrete just moving like waves.
Oh my
and then the entire bridge just collapses. I've been over the Tacoma Narrows Bridge hundreds of times at this point. Yeah. The new one, because they rebuilt it. This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Some people died.
I don't think anyone died. Yeah, because it
didn't immediately fall. It was like it starts rocking, then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger because the wind's just pushing in just that way that the frequency gets
The video does have the one dude, like, there's one guy who's just walking across the bridge as it's kind of like swaying. He's like, he's still getting off of it.
Yep.
He's still on it. I assume he got off because I don't remember there being any deaths. Also, I can't. When I was in college, I also learned about the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, and I can't remember the specifics, but I think it's a widely misunderstood cause. And I can't remember if what you just described is the true cause or the misunderstood cause of its collapse. Because I remember being like, wait, I thought that's how it was. And they're like, nope, it's actually like this. So if anyone in the comments knows how it actually went down, let us know if Niko's right. Because what you described makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense to me too. It's what I remember reading. Like,
right, yeah. No, because it was widely misreported to be due to something. I remember Real Engineering made a video about this a few years back, Brian McManus, and he went into the detail on that. So
it makes sense for it to be like that resonance thing, though. You know, in terms of like, as opposed to the wind just blowing it over, and that was the end of it.
Right, yeah.
Though I know they've changed bridge designs so they don't like catch the wind in a certain way anymore.
Yes. Yeah. You know, that's the one good thing about catastrophes is that it's a learning experience for everyone.
That's a positive spin.
You know how to not do things in the future.
That's true, actually.
That's how scaffolding became a thing.
Scaffolding?
Yeah. It was a girl was walking in New York and a stone fell off an apartment building and hit her and she died.
Oof.
Wow.
So they named like the street after her and everything. And so then New York, it all started in New York. So they have to do scaffolding if you're doing any type of work or you have things that could fall off.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because then you get sued, obviously.
So you have those like basically those walkway tunnels, pedestrian tunnels.
I watched a whole like documentary on scaffolding. It's
What's her name? Scaffold?
No. There's like Eva or something. Like
Oh man.
Actually, no, I think it was Christian. I told Christian, I was like, they should do a Stuntman React episode on just scaffolding because in the documentary, they start showing all of these fight scenes that utilize scaffolding because it's everywhere. There's like a lot of Jackie Chan.
Yeah, I was about to say Jackie Chan has done so much scaffolding work.
There's so
Remember,
many.
like, what was it? Rush Hour 2, I think?
There was like 5. Like,
Yeah,
that
I'm
I
sure,
saw.
I'm sure.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Niko, you said you had a story from college?
Well, so in the last podcast, we talked about Michael Jackson, the documentary.
I
We brought
wasn't
up the
here.
idea of, oh, that's right, you weren't here. Jordan, you were here.
Yes.
We brought up the question of can you separate art from the artist? And so, not to get ahead of myself, I'm going to rewind this now. So back in school, same college where I had the physics and the arts class, we were doing a film. I was doing a film, major also. I double majored in art and film. And we were doing a normal lecture, and I think we were talking about like horror films, or like we were studying Psycho or something like that. And the professor made a joke about Ed Gein, who's a serial killer and guy who had robbed graves, who lived in Wisconsin. And like, to me and pretty much probably 99.9% of the people there, he's a character basically. He's a part of like American folklore of serial killers. And then the next day, the professor started off the class by apologizing about that, which I thought for my first initial reaction was like, that's weird. Why are you apologizing? And she brought up like the fact that this actually happened like an hour away from Madison, Wisconsin, or that there might be people in the class who are actually from the town and had to live through this and experience it.
Right.
And it was kind of, this is a moment that defined, or like that stuck out to me, that kind of defined the realization that a lot of the time when you're talking about other people or other things, they're just kind of background in your world, right? They don't feel real because you don't interact with them. But, somebody who experienced it or who's actually gone through it might be sitting right next to you and you don't know it.
Yeah.
And, I tried to take a lesson from it, which is to be aware that, these things are real and people do have to deal with them. And so oddly enough, we were talking about Michael Jackson in the last podcast, and I'd watched that HBO documentary, which has left me, from watching that, it's left me convinced that Michael Jackson, did what he did.
You watched the whole thing?
Their accusations. Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yes. And that's, that's going off of what I saw in the documentary. And I'm not like a scholar on this thing, and I'm not sure it really even matters to the world what my opinion of this is. But in the comments on that podcast, Taj Jackson, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but Taj, who's related to Michael Jackson, I believe he's his nephew, came in and said like, hey, I have another perspective on this. If you guys are going to be talking about this, I would be interested in having a conversation with you to give you a different point of view, because there's a lot of people that are criticizing that HBO documentary and, the things that have been said.
I mean, obviously there's an agenda with it. It was like trying to push a very specific point of view, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I think, a nature of almost all documentaries. To some extent.
No, absolutely.
But, it was a reminder of like when I talk about something, people can be there listening who aren't, to them, it's not just another character in the distance or another just figure of culture.
It's special, yeah.
It's something they actually lived through and went through. And, that lesson that I tried to learn in college, I forgot about it. And like talking about Michael Jackson in the podcast, and sure enough, somebody's listening who is close to that and went through those, that moment in time. They were there personally witnessing it, and I'd be interested to have a conversation with Taj and kind of hear, his story on it. I think anytime you can get a first person account of like their experiences with something, it's so interesting and so valuable and so different versus watching something edited and presented.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I wonder how first person his accounts would be, even if he is his nephew or whatever. It's like, how often did he actually see him? How well did he get to know him? You know?
I think these would all be interesting things to find out. I mean,
because it's like watching that documentary, it's kind of hard to not believe the doc.
Yes.
It's like, it's pretty well laid out. There's a lot of experiences that are explained, but.
Mm-hmm. And I personally feel like, as someone who does video editing, I feel like I have a decent eye for when a documentary is trying to manipulate me or make construct something that wasn't quite there. Like I can kind of tell when like sound bites are put together in reality shows from, things people didn't say and they just grab words from here and there. Or like when, they're cutting things certain ways. It's, for example, like in the Tiger King, like every time they cut to Carol Baskins, like, and it's in slow motion, they're playing dramatic music. It's like, I'm so clearly being emotionally manipulated, in those shots.
I never even watched that one.
The Tiger King is.
I'm just not into stuff like that.
It was very entertaining and fascinating, but I feel like it was also a hit piece on some people that didn't deserve it, and kind of a heroic piece for other people who didn't deserve it. It makes me a little bit worried about how fascinated are with people who like don't deserve our fascination.
Yeah. I think was like why I don't really pay attention to stuff like that.
I think that's good. I think the most we can do is speak with our own actions and intentions.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why Tiger King became so like blown up was that it just dropped at the perfect time.
Well, right.
Absolutely.
But I ended up avoiding it partly out of just not really being interested, but also because I had heard some things and I kind of looked into it a little bit. I'm like, it's about this guy who's like not that good, and it kind of builds him out to be kind of a cool guy. Like, nah, I don't want to.
Where everyone was him for Halloween and and I'm like, and if you're from those parts, like you already kind of know that people live like that to begin with. Like I'm from the South and like redneck area. Like none of that was shocking to me. It was just very all elaborated and made up. And I was like, this is literally just a story that they're putting together, and it dropped at the beginning of the pandemic. I was like, I see those type of people growing up all the time. There's nothing new to this.
I wonder about that aspect of personal experience too, where like, to all of us, not all of us, to most of us, the Tiger King and all that, like they're just characters, they're not real, but some people had to deal with that and some people had to go through that. And, there's a lot of like horror stories within all that. Same thing with like a lot of the like serial killer, like true crime things that, you see on Netflix. Part of me's like, what if you were in that family and like, you know, your loved one was killed by the serial killer and now you see them being made a movie star. Like, how does that feel? Like, that's
Probably
gotta be
feels
pretty
awful.
crappy. Yeah. It probably feels awful.
Yeah, people are listening to like the murder podcast in the car and like just like like looking. Like I remember I was listening to one just because I was bored and Nat was in the car and she looked at me and she was like, "Are you okay?" I'm just listening to someone's horror story and I was like, and I guess it is kind of weird. I'm like just excited to be hearing about how someone was killed.
I mean, there's definitely like an aspect of like, you know, there's only so much experience you can get on your own. So you gather the experiences of others in your lifetime to broaden your horizons and your wisdom and all that kind of stuff. But like, I feel like there's a fine line between like, you know, it being an insight into like how humans function and how society works versus like just taking somebody's trauma and pain and using it for entertainment. And I think there's a lot of amazing documentaries on true crime and serial killers and all that kind of stuff. And there's also amazing shows on it, but there's also, I think, a lot of exploitative stuff too. And it's definitely mixed into one big mush recently.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that one documentary series on Netflix recently, like a few months back? It was about that one woman who died at the hotel in downtown LA. What's the name of that one?
It's like the Cecil.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Cecil Hotel.
My roommate watched it. I never watched it. I get scared. I don't watch.
I was like into it, but Jenna ended up finishing it without me.
Oh no.
But I guess you can go to the hotel.
We did. Yeah, it's still there in downtown LA. We rode by. Were you with us when we rode by it? We did it in the evening one time. We were on like some ride in downtown LA and wait, yeah, no, Christian, you were there. I was with you. And yeah, we rolled right by the Cecil Hotel and it's like they had taken the name down on the front, but it's still painted up on the side up at the top so you can still see it. Yeah.
I didn't see it, but wasn't I mean, I guess it's spoilers if you care. Didn't it turn out that she had like some sort of mental illness or something that like caused her to
Someone
wander
finished
off?
the documentary without me.
Oh,
But I mean, the general, if you're not aware, basically, this woman got lost. No, she was missing. Big difference. She was missing, and then the internet started basically trying to find her. A bunch of investigative armchair experts, and they ended up finding her in the water tower on top of the hotel. So everyone in the hotel had been drinking.
she was in the water tower? I thought she had to fall and like behind it and like got wedged between. Was she in the water tower?
She was floating in the water.
Oh, that's awful.
The water supply for the whole hotel, and
my
everyone
gosh.
had been drinking and bathing in dead body water.
Dead body tea.
Oh yeah.
Because it's also hot in LA.
Oh my god. Gross.
Sorry, Jordan.
Like, like what do? Do you get it like a refund?
1 star.
I have no idea how
Couple
that.
bad Yelp
well,
reviews.
that hotel has had a lot of like
There's a lot of crime that happened.
a lot of
there.
crime. Yeah, they're constantly getting police calls there and stuff like that. But like, I can't believe that hotel didn't go under after that event. Like,
No publicity is bad publicity, they say.
I mean, at this point, it's now more of a.
Well, did people
Public
even know about
attraction.
that body in the water tower thing?
They didn't until the police were all around and the news got out. And there are news.
'Cause I didn't know about it before the Netflix documentary.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I remember it going down when I think we were doing Sync.
really.
It was around that time, I think, because
How many years?
I don't know, like 8 years ago, something like that.
It's relatively recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, relatively recently. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
The hotel's not functioning, right?
No, it's still a hotel. You can go live there, or stay there.
You can go live there. Welcome to the Cecil Hotel.
It just sounds creepy too. Like
Yeah.
Bates Motel sounds better than that place.
Yeah,
The baddest motel.
Betty's.
Bates
Tess.
Motel's cool.
Speaking of Netflix series, I rewatched Bo Burnham's Inside again a few nights ago with Ivy.
Man, I still haven't seen it.
Yeah,
I want to finish watching it. I've only seen the first like 15 minutes.
It's a work of art. It really captures a moment in someone's story during the pandemic, and he is clearly extremely talented and writes some really interesting music because it starts off as kind of like jokey kind of music, but like there's this undercurrent of him actually like having messages he's kind of trying to deliver, and then little by little as like the show goes on and his time working on this alone goes on, his music starts to just become personal music. Like there's still, quips and moments and stuff, but like at certain points he's just singing songs that are personal songs. And Bo Burnham is clearly, you know, watching inside, he's very focused on, you know, how the internet is affecting people's perception of society and reality and their self-worth and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that stood out to me watching it the second time that I didn't really notice the first time is, you know, there's a lot of negativity in it. Like there's a ton of negativity and there's jokes. And I feel like part of being a comedian is you take things that are hard to talk about or things that are, you know, would have negative emotions and you bring them out so you can process it, but you use comedy so that you don't have to feel as much pain when you're processing it, you know? Whether it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about or a thing that makes you angry, you know, it's a way to do that without actually having to be angry when you talk about it, you know? And there's parts in this movie where Bo Burnham's like, you know, saying he's like having a really hard time. He's sounding really angry and, you know, struggling with depression, or at least that's, you know, the impression I get. And the songs really echo that too. But one thing that I also noticed is I can't think of any moment in the video, and maybe Jordan, if you know, think of it, let me know.
Like
or Christian.
halfway through, so maybe.
Okay. But I can't think of one time he mentions one thing that he's thankful for, you know, or excited for. Like, specifically thankful. Like, at no point does he ever say, like, I'm thankful I have this to work on, or I'm thankful I have this space to use, or I'm thankful I have the abilities I have. Like, there's not one moment of, like, that pause. Because there's a lot of self-reflection and, like, talking about his, like, inner thoughts, but it's all negative. And watching it the second time, for as much as I like it and how great it is, it definitely sticks out to me a little bit more and is almost a little off-putting for me, at least for that second half. Can you guys think of any moment when he, like Christian, Jordan? No?
No, not the parts that I saw now.
Not as...
It's almost like a beautiful cry for help.
Yeah.
Is kind of my first impression.
I feel like it's hard to be... I'm going to get into some philosophical stuff here. It's easy to always be like trying to fix something or worry about something. What's the next thing you're going to deal with? What's the task you have to have at hand? What's the work you have to do? It's easy to focus on the problems that you have to solve. And I think it's a little harder to pause and be thankful for the things that you have achieved or that you already have. But I think if you're never thankful for something, you're going to have a hard time being happy, because I think the nature of being happy, in essence of that, is the nature of appreciating and being thankful for the things that are bringing you joy. Because if you're not thankful for anything, then how are you even happy? You know, if you're not thankful for like having a good meal or having friends or, you know, a nice evening or a good movie that you just watched, like if you're not thankful for that experience, then how did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
You know, unless you're just enjoying it and you're taking it for granted, which I think we all tend to do once in a while, but that's more of, I think, just a oversight as we kind of breeze through it.
Well, I mean, as you said, it's like, it's kind of hard though, because you're saying it kind of seems like, you know, he's suffering from depression, in which case it's, you know, it's extremely difficult to be happy, you know,
right.
chemically.
Yeah, for sure.
And so then you combine that with, you know, a complete lack of social interaction and yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, this isn't me trying to say like, oh, you should just, you know, here's how to be happy. It's more of an observation of, I think, you know, not saying one causes the other. It's more of a correlation. But if you're not pausing to think about the things you're thankful for, you may not be taking the time to pause and think about the things that are making you happy. Because it's easy to just keep thinking about the next thing you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Because like, there's always things to be thankful for, but like, you know, if you look at me as 18 and me now, like I've achieved a lot of things that me at 18 was hoping to achieve, but they just kind of become a thing that you're doing along the way. You know, it's like, oh, okay, I have a job, I have a place, I have a wife, I have a kid. Wow. You know, like these are things I should be thankful for. But then, you know, oh, I'm thinking about the next day I gotta get this project done. And then I have to go to the doctors here and with this appointment for Milo, and I have to go and do this. And it's like, you're just thinking about the next thing you have to do. And you're not pausing to be like, whoa, hold up. Like, don't get frustrated about that. Big picture, be thankful for the fact that you have this to begin with, because this is what you've always wanted. And I think it's really easy to just breeze by. You know, if it's something you've always wanted, once you have it, it's really, really easy just to breeze by that and start thinking about the next thing. And you never pause to appreciate it.
That perspective is important, and it can be really challenging to grab hold of.
It's like a hamster wheel that everyone is on, but we're not really taught to hop off the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be worried. You're supposed to want to go buy the new thing, or why is this person doing that? I want to go here. I want to go on vacation. And then, people are just working to live at this point. No one's really just living or being happy. But that's like society. Think of advertising and marketing, and no one is telling you to be happy. No one. They're just throwing like pharmaceutical stuff at you, bad food. And it takes a lot. Like, I think like he was saying, it is much harder to be happy. But if you just try to like center yourself or be around people, or, just take a moment, meditate, and say what you're grateful for. That's what I always try to do. Glass half full rather than glass half empty. And I found myself complaining a lot less in life. Like how you said, just a couple of years ago, I didn't have a job and I didn't know how money was going to come sometimes. Now I have a job. I don't worry about money. But some days I forget that now I have money, and now it's just the next thing of, well, I'm not doing this. But 2 years ago, I couldn't even think that far. You just have to be very happy with how you're progressing.
Yeah, it's important because the goals are always shifting.
Yeah.
And that, if you're always trying to achieve a goal, but you always have new goals, then you're never going to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
So it's good to stop and be thankful for having something. Yeah. I kind of had the same feeling where I was feeling more anxious about things a few months back. Like, it's kind of creeping up on me. It's like, why is my mindset like this all of a sudden? Like, what changed? Like, I don't really have things to be anxious of, outside of just normal life.
And running a company.
Well, but still, it's not like this is my first year doing it at this point. You know?
No, I know.
Like, I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who are, good friends and like also making this all happen. Like, I have an awesome team. Like, we're all together here, and if one of us gets sick or something like that and is out for a month, it's like, okay, and the rest of the team will adapt. We have really cool shows that I really enjoy doing. Like, I love doing VFX Artists React. Like, zooming out, it's like, sure, there's responsibilities and there's the occasional stresses, and that's fine, and like, that's life. But like, I don't really have something to be anxious about in a deep core way, and if I'm feeling that, I need to stop and reevaluate, like, what am I doing? What's my perspective on things that's causing this
we can
anxiety
easily create our anxiety. Or someone told me, like, when you're worrying about something, you're just kind of predicting the future that hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of ruining what could possibly happen because you're like, it's going to be this way, and I'm going to be so worried.
Yeah.
And it could all just be fine. It normally is when you think of the grand scheme of things. Like, what are you complaining about? I'm like, there's so many more people going through so much worse all the time.
Yeah, I mean, mindset and perspective, like, I think it's a bit taboo to say that, you have control over your emotions and your perspectives on things, but it's true to some extent. Like, you do influence your perspective, and the experiences you have influences your perspective, and the experiences you have is because of the actions you take. So, there are things we can do as individuals to push ourselves and step ourselves towards these places we want to be. And I think that's important to acknowledge as well, that, we can actively work towards the things we want to have or experience or feel. Whether or not we can get there without help, I'm not saying that's a 100% guaranteed thing, but I think it's important.
Welcome to the Corridor Cast, where we're a philosophy podcast.
Yeah, we start with
Philosophism?
Philosophism. A futurology philosophy podcast. Whatever, that's deep conversation hour with Niko, Wren, and Jordan.
Is there
it's
any
8 p.m.
Is there any new tech? Any cool like tech stuff?
I don't.
I don't know.
Wren, tell me about your feelings.
Whatever.
Oh man.
You guys teach me the tech stuff. So.
Oh yeah, my shoulder had surgery last week.
Oh right, yeah. How'd that go?
Yeah, it went well.
This isn't just like any little surgery. It was a legit thing. I had to get in there.
So I don't specifically know exactly what they did yet because the surgeon didn't know what he was going to do before the surgery. And he wasn't around after the surgery, and the nurse didn't know anything. So I have 3 holes in my shoulder.
Just a mystery surgeon came in, did something, and then disappeared. And they're like, "We don't know where he went."
Like,
Kinda.
Like Paul Rudd.
I mean, no, he's the surgeon is the same doctor who I'd been seeing for my shoulder to begin with, and the clavicle, and I like him a lot. But at the same time, it's like I have 3 holes in my shoulder, and I don't know why. He said there might be 1 or 2, and I woke up at 3. I woke up lecturing the nurse on Archimedes and buoyancy. And apparently she was, I vaguely remember her going, "Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Yeah." And that was like my first moment of consciousness. I didn't like wake up. I just remember being like, "Wait, why are you saying yeah?" Something about like, yeah. She was like, "Oh yeah, you're talking about
Nurses
Archimedes."
must deal with some of the like most dumb stuff.
And so I told Jenna that, and she's like, "Yeah, that makes sense. That happens a lot."
Tell us about
Patients say a bunch of stupid things, apparently.
Can you take us back to that moment and actually lecture me for a minute on Archimedes and buoyancy?
No.
Do you,
Well,
no,
what
tell
were
me
you
what you
saying?
know.
What I know, I made a whole video about it a few months ago. I mean, yeah, it's like, Archimedes, he was an old Greek philosopher and was tasked by the king to figure out whether or not the king's crown was pure gold or not. And how does this go? He basically knows the weight of pure gold, like the density of gold. And so he also can figure out the volume of the crown by submerging it in water. Because by submerging something in water, the water level will rise by the exact volume of that object. And so then you have the volume of something and the supposed density, or rather, no, you have the volume of something and the density of something, so therefore you can figure out how much it should weigh. And if it's pure gold, it should weigh a certain amount. If it's been cut with anything, like maybe a little bit of lead or something, or a little bit of, I don't know, iron, I don't know what they would have cut it with, tin, copper maybe, yeah, it would weigh a little less. And the crown weighed a little less.
Ooh.
Oh,
As legend has it, supposedly. Apparently that story is not actually feasible at all.
Imagine how mad you'd be if you were the king and you've been wearing a crown that is not pure gold. Like they had like so little like to wear, like that's what they cared about back then, and he was probably pissed.
he's so heavy.
Yeah.
Pure gold crown.
Right?
That's the thing we got wrong with our Battlefield series. We kind of knew it because it's impossible to to portray it right, but gold bars are incredibly heavy. A single gold bar is like 30 pounds. So just like what would be like 5 gold bars, and you're approaching my weight. 5. That's enough to hold in my hands like this. And
So
it's
the
like
movies are
150
not
pounds.
accurate when they're like stealing gold bars and,
Yeah.
stuff and like throwing them around.
Yeah, so we had
you
people
could
carrying
not.
duffel bags.
They
and-
did it. They did it well in Die Hard 3. Remember when they stole all the gold out of the Fort Knox? It was Samuel Jackson, and I remember him saying, "Man, this is heavy." Because
all
it's
we
gold.
needed.
It's a bar gold.
Yeah.
I really want to
That's
buy
slime
one of
mist.
those tungsten cubes that you can get. They're really expensive. I know Jesse Driftwood got one for like $400, and it's like a 1.5-inch cube. So it's not very big, but because it's pure tungsten, which is an incredibly heavy element, it feels way heavier than it should be, than it appears to be. And I'm like, I really want something like that, but I don't think it's worth $400.
No. What's that aerosol gel that's like the really light stuff too?
It's aerogel.
Aerogel, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It is the lightest element. It is also the most thermally insulating element because it's basically just
Element?
air. Sorry, material. You're right. It is literally like 99.99% air. It's just like a lattice work of silica that's super incredibly thin. Yeah.
So it's like foam. But hard.
Like mega foam.
Like
Yeah.
plastic foam.
Yeah. Imagine like you're to take like foam, like say off the top of beer or whatever, and harden it, and then also make it all the film way thinner.
Wow.
And even more bubbles.
That and playing with some aerogel and playing with some like Vanta Black paint would be really fun.
I've been wanting to do a Vanta Black video for a while now, where we just get I mean, I guess we couldn't technically get Vanta Black specifically, but there's a bunch of different types of
Isn't it
paint
like
that are.
Vanta Black either like illegal or
Well,
like, hard
the
to come
owner
by?
of it, or the inventor, the copyright holder, the patent holder, I'm not exactly sure, but basically he has made it so that no one else can purchase it. But there's a lot of copycat pigments out there that are basically just as dark. They absorb all the light. So I really want to see something like that in person, where you just paint something and it looks like a black hole, except for the fact that it's an actual like object.
I wonder what kind of heat it picks up. Like does it get
Probably a
hot?
lot. Probably a lot.
Yeah, because
But
it's
yeah.
absorbing 100% of the light. Well, not 100, but 99% of the light radiation.
Yeah.
What does it look like if you were to like paint the wall with it?
It would just look like nothing. You would see no contours. You would see like, imagine like taking like a statue of like a cat or something. Like you 3D print a cat and then you paint it in Vanta Black. It would just look like a silhouette at all times. Even if you shine a flashlight at it, it would just like the flashlight would just not appear.
That's cool.
It's pretty nuts. And I've been wanting to get some of that so we can do like a bit of like an investigative video about it, like actually like taking pictures, cranking up the ISO and exposure and like bringing it into Photoshop or After Effects to like really sample the light values and really just kind of figure out what exactly this paint does to like film sensors and whatnot. Like how does it actually optically interact with everything?
How expensive is it?
I don't know.
It sounds expensive.
I mean, it's pricier than regular paint, but I don't think it's like $400 a can.
Imagine if your
Heck
car,
expensive.
you had your car painted in
Oh,
that.
here's a car painted in it.
Whoa, okay.
Yes, I've seen that. Yes. Yeah, you were saying that. I was like,
I wonder if they color corrected this at all. It's not bad.
It just it makes the camera look like they just are really bad at using a camera.
Yeah, you're like, give me a different angle. And you're like, this is a different angle.
Yeah,
It makes the car look fuzzy.
it does. Yeah.
Or like when people get the really bad like matte wraps or something.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
This actually looks pretty cool. There's another, like, I remember looking up a video for another, like, Vanta Black ripoff. That's pretty disappointed with the results. Maybe, like, the guy didn't, like, make a point of shooting it to make it look really black, but, like, you could see the contours really, like, it was like, oh, you painted it with, like, a really nice black paint. And, like, that's all it had. This, however, like, the car is basically 100% black.
That's
You
crazy.
said it looks fuzzy, and I find that really interesting because, I mean, something like Velvet has a very, very low index of reflection index. It doesn't reflect well.
It don't
And
reflect.
so it gives you that matte sort of look, and it's going to appear fuzzy because
that
it's
doesn't
not
look that
reflecting
great.
anything. You don't see any reflections.
Like, this does look like you can see the contours.
Yeah.
It's dark. Don't get me wrong.
It's a very dark car.
It's insane.
But yeah, you're right. I can see shape to the
Yeah.
door.
It looks like it's all fuzzy. It's a bunch of black felt. Yeah, that was an interesting thing about Velvet. That's why they use Velvet for like the black velvet for like magic backdrops. So like when they're doing like Invisible Man productions.
Okay, sure.
It's the same
yeah.
thing. It absorbs all that light.
Has anyone went to the Madcap Motel yet?
Mad Cat
No.
Motel. I don't know what
LA.
that is.
It's so everyone knew about it from TikTok. It was
Classic.
an ad, or it was someone who had already went, and it's just this girl going through all of these different rooms and experiences. It reminded me a lot of when Niko was talking about Omega Mart. So you go through with a crowd,
Mart?
and they're taking you through a journey through this motel, and it's like all theatrical. And one room is like pitch black, and there's like lights going down, or there's mirrors everywhere, and you're just like exploring with different lights, and you can play games but looking through tunnels. There's a room that's all sideways, so everything in the room is just sideways. But it's all
Okay.
and then everyone in line is like, how did you hear about it? And we're like, TikTok. And but you guys have never heard of it. It's literally right downtown. It's called
No.
Madcap Motel.
I've not
No.
heard of it.
Yeah.
It sounds really
They
fun.
so they have hotels and gaming controllers.
Oh, that was a stretch
Now
right
Christian's laughing.
That went right over my head.
Mad Cats is a company that makes like off-brand kind of
Oh,
middle to low tier quality gaming controllers for
gotcha.
gaming consoles.
Madcap.
Yeah. So my surgery went well. I tore the labrum and broke the socket bone a little bit. I know I've talked about this before. I apologize. The surgeon told me there's nothing they can do about the bone. I was like, oh, okay. That was not what you told me last time we talked, but okay. There's supposedly a bone chip in there. You're going to take that out, right? Like, I don't know. I'll find out on Friday.
If we call you Chip for the rest of the time that you're here or not.
Just whatever, Chip. So then the 2 days after that were probably the most rough, not because of the pain, but because of the lack of pain. Specifically, the lack of any feeling because I had a nerve block done. And the nerve block was pretty intense because it paralyzed the entirety of my arm from like pretty much my collarbone all the way down to my fingertips. And I couldn't feel or move them at all. Like it's so bizarre to look at your hand and try to like, all right, move your finger. And you're activating the muscle in your mind, and then just nothing happens. It's really
it's called
unsettling.
a ghost something because like amputees deal with it when they lose their
Phantom
leg.
limbs.
Yeah, I think that's a little different because the phantom limbs, that's where they actually feel pain where they shouldn't.
My favorite
Yeah,
bad
well, I
guy
guess
from
that's
the Venture
phantom pain,
Brothers.
isn't it?
My favorite bad guy from the Venture Brothers. Phantom Limb.
Phantom limb.
He's just a guy that doesn't have any arms or legs. They're invisible.
But yeah, and that like wasn't that big of a deal. Like it's like touching my skin felt really rough because it was just like someone else's skin. That wasn't that big of a deal, except the overall feeling was that like it felt like my arm was pinched in going to sleep. You know how like when you
Yeah.
sleep on your arm wrong, or you've been like leaning on your arm a little while and you start feeling it go to sleep. It felt like that moment right there when it's starting to go to sleep and it's uncomfortable. Like
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, kind of, isn't it? Your nerve not responding. So
I mean,
your arm's
yeah,
like-
no, it is. But, you know, you would think that because you can't feel anything, it's fine. But it felt distinctly like, oh, I'm pinching my arm. I really need to move it so that I can get blood flow back. It's a very overwhelming sensation for my brain
Yeah.
to be like, oh, move
Interesting.
your arm so that like you can get that feeling back.
And you can't.
And you can't.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And so then
crazy.
after a couple days, that nerve block started going away and my feelings started coming back. And it wasn't that big of a deal as far as like the pain in my shoulder. I had some pain meds that were helping with that. But overall, I think my shoulder surgery and the recovery from it has been far smoother and easier than the collarbone. I feel like I was planning for this and I was like, you know what? No, it's like, okay, this is how it is. I'm learning snowboarding and I got a snowboard. I'm all excited about it. I get up to the ski hill. I'm going up the bunny slope and I'm like, all right, before I do the bunny slope, I'm going to go down this double black diamond
Is this a real
quick.
story or an analogy? Oh,
This
that's
is an analogy.
I'm like, you
And,
shouldn't be doing any
you
of
know,
that right now.
I just have a really awful time going down the black diamond, rest a little bit. And I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go down the bunny slope. And I do, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't that bad. But it
bunny
was only
slope.
not that bad because I did the double black diamond.
Double black diamond's your collarbone snapping. Huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. What is a nerve block? Is it like anesthesia onto the nerve?
I'm not exactly sure. So I
There's a
did
little
have.
gate that like closes and then opens up.
Who goes there? Feeling? I'm not exactly sure. I mean, when it comes to nerve stuff, I have no idea. I don't know if they did some sort of like acupuncture type deal where they actually like injected something into the nerve ending in my arm. Like there's probably some main nerve that goes from like through my shoulder and hits everything in my arm. And they probably just tapped it up there. But I don't know if that was something they put in my IV or something they applied directly to the shoulder. Did they have to specifically hit the nerve with it? It wasn't my general anesthesia. That was a separate thing.
So,
but-
so they do this on purpose.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know
it
if
was
it just
specifically so
accidentally
that I
happens.
wouldn't feel the pain as intensely. Because, yeah.
I can imagine though, could that be dangerous? Like if you tap it too hard and you're just like, oh, sorry. Like
Yeah.
never again will you feel.
I mean, that's a danger with what's it called when someone's going into labor and they give them anesthesia on the bottom half of their body, basically, so they don't have to feel as
The
much of that pain.
epidural. And
Epidural.
stuff.
Epidural,
Yeah.
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 If that's done wrong, it'll paralyze you
Yeah.
because they're putting it right into your spinal column.
Other people are like, I'm doing a natural birth. And it's like until they're doing the natural birth and they're like, nope. They're like, come.
I'll take a look
I
at that
couldn't.
epidural.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
they have to turn you over and they put it right into your.
Yeah, but
Your
it
spine.
has that risk when they make you sign, papers for it, being like, look, if you mess it up, you might not walk again.
Man, modern medicine and medical knowledge is just truly something, a wonder to behold.
It is.
Like,
it's incredible.
What they did to my shoulder, had it been like 15 years ago, they would have just like made this huge scar up through my whole arm here to pull back all the skin and then just directly operate on the flesh, the labrum and all that stuff inside. But no, they made 3 different incisions that are like barely half an inch long.
Yeah.
And then they send in little robot arms.
Oh, yeah, you said that.
Like little like articulating like little
Like the hands
tentacles.
from the Sentinels in the Matrix.
Yeah, pretty much, actually, yeah. And so one hole was for the camera, the laparoscopic camera that goes in underneath the skin to the zone, and the closer one is for the actual little arm that has more arms on it, little like grippers, little knives, just to, and one with like, I think they sutured up the labrum, so there had to be like a little sewing needle.
Wow.
So, I don't know.
It's just
I
a
don't
machine
know.
just going like Snow White or something. Little
I mean, yeah,
baby.
maybe.
I think I got the same thing done for my appendix.
Oh,
when I
okay,
had,
sure.
I had appendicitis, and then I woke up and I had 3 tiny little
Yeah.
incisions, and then they gave me the stitches that dissolve. Right? Are they going to dissolve inside?
No,
of
I
you?
have to get them taken out.
Oh,
Oh, really?
interesting.
Yeah.
So they got stick another little stick into you.
No, I mean, Jenna might actually take these out herself.
Oh, you mean? Oh, wait. You don't have any sutures inside your body. You must.
I think I do. I think they're that Teflon nylon combo. and I think it's just there forever.
Oh, cool.
Maybe it'll dissolve into, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
The exterior stitches will, I mean,
Okay. Because I
as
didn't
long
have
as
to
it's
get
been there
anything.
long enough, like you can literally just cut the sutures yourself. Like you literally don't have to go to the doctor to cut out
When
stitches.
you cut it, do you have to pull the strings out?
Yes.
Yeah. Gross.
I don't do well with that type of stuff in movies.
Can you put get a microphone, like a really sensitive microphone, and put it next to it when you pull the string
Oh my
through?
God, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
A few months ago,
wanna
Jenna
watch
cut
it.
her finger really badly cutting onions, and so we went to the hospital. She got stitches. I think she had like 5 stitches in her finger, and I think you have to keep the stitches in for like 2 weeks or something like that. And then we were just watching a movie one night, and she's like, "All right, I'm gonna take my stitches out." I'm like trying to enjoy this movie, and she's like, "Snip, shk, snip."
Ugh,
It's like no big deal.
that's so awful.
I mean, she takes out stitches all the time, so
I
she's
know.
like a pro at it. But it's like
The worst part of movies,
trying to
every
drink
time
wine and watch a movie.
someone
What are you doing?
saves someone and they're like just happen to be a medic and they have this like makeshift needle and thread and they're like, I'll stitch you up, and then they're like throw alcohol on it and just and I'm like I just think I would keep the wound open. I don't know if I can just watch a needle just put together.
Let's
my-
do tape, and I'll get to the doctors
Yeah.
this evening.
Yeah, one of the things you got to be careful of is to not pierce too far below the skin and not hook any of the muscle.
Oh my goodness.
I don't. You just sew your skin to your muscle, and it's like that's not a good time because then the moment you flex, it rips through.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Sick. Literally. All right. Cool.
see, that's an. See, what time is it? You have more time to talk.
So how do we recover from
That's
this?
a nice shirt you're wearing there, Nico.
Thanks.
It's a nice
All
shirt
right.
I'm wearing here.
Yeah, just
me.
a couple of blue button-up boys over here.
with blue jeans and vesties.
Yes. And
We are wearing like literally the same
exact
thing
same
right
clothes.
now. Here,
Yeah.
hold your.
And then I'm like,
This podcast not sponsored by Vessi, but the shoes are comfy, I must say.
Wow. Yeah, so we did a Bob Ross video today.
Yep.
And I guess after this podcast, the Instagram posts will go up because
Did you put yours in the render folder?
I have not yet.
Okay.
But it's like ready to go. I already have it on my phone and everything, but it's not in the folder
where
yet.
it needs to be.
So that'll be the first thing I do after this. But yeah, I guess you guys will post that tonight or tomorrow. Tonight. It'll all be anonymous.
Yeah.
And everyone votes on who I guess had the best render.
Wait, so what is the Bob Ross challenge, Ren?
Right,
Ask
yeah,
Niko
I
as
should
if he wasn't there.
I should probably add some context to that as opposed to explaining the ending. Bob Ross is a famous painter. Most of you guys
We know
him.
who Bob Ross is.
He was born in.
Did you know he is more famous than Andy Warhol?
Yeah,
Probably because millennials.
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, he's he became an internet sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we
Andy
decided
Warhol's
to try to
overrated.
do a render
Boom, hot
challenge.
take. Sorry. Done.
I didn't even hear what you said.
Just Andy Warhol's overrated is what I said.
Oh yeah, sure. Don't get Jan talking about Andy Warhol. He will talk your ear off about how overrated he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bob Ross, we decided to basically try to follow one of his painting tutorials, but do it in CG, and did a whole render challenge about it. So we all tried to recreate one of his paintings in 3D.
There's a special note, an asterisk next to this that Ren has
I think
left
there's a
off.
few asterisks. Which one are you talking about?
The biggest one, which is we did it in real time watching the episode.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, did anyone ring the bell?
Oh,
We all rang the bell.
Okay.
I was part of me was hoping like someone like Sam would maybe like refuse to ring the bell. Like maybe he was doing all right. And we're like, Sam, come on, ring the bell. We need you to do it. And he's like, no.
Oh, he never rang.
But he rang
Oh,
the
he
bell
did,
too.
okay.
Yeah, he
We
rang the
all
bell.
did. We all
Sam, like,
needed
was
as
the
much
second
time
one.
as possible.
So are we posting the original
yeah.
as well? Okay.
The renders were the bell, just to explain to you guys. So the episodes are 27 minutes long. Bob Ross makes this entire picture in real time
It's
in
mind-blowing.
27 minutes. So we did, we looked at the final result for 5 seconds yesterday. Just 5 seconds when we couldn't look at it again. And we were able to gather assets so that we're not like modeling trees and mountains. Like you were able to grab your tree models, grab whatever, you're just grabbing models though. You're not building the shot. You're just grabbing what you need. So we're able to gather assets. And then in real time, in this 27-minute episode, we have to build our render at the exact same time that he's making the painting. And we all have a bell that we can ring once, and it buys us 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's we
just
pause the
puts it
episode
on pause.
for 5 minutes. So Why did you ring your bell? What happened when you had to ring yours?
I don't know. I think I was just starting to feel a little bit of panic, and I was like,
So yours is a panic ding.
What part of the painting were you on?
oh, I don't. I think I was still trying to make like the ground, and he was already moving on to like the foreground trees. I was like, oh, I'm
my
so behind.
Oh, he loves those foreground trees. The little
Oh, his foreground trees. He's the best. The rocks that he does along
Yeah,
the water.
it's like he was making a forest faster than I could like import a tree model.
Yeah, I couldn't copy paste faster than he could make trees. Like, I already had a nice tree in there. I'm like, he's like, I have another one and another one and another one. I'm like, whoa, I can't even like click and drag this fast.
We also had no undo,
Yes.
no control Z.
No control Z. Daniel made
Is
a
that
script.
what Daniel? Yeah, I saw Daniel doing that before. I was like, "What are you doing?" And then he just starts sprinting away. I was like, "Why do I even ask?"
Which I should probably get off the computer at some point.
Probably.
still on
I think
that
it's.
laptop.
I mean, I was able to use Control Z in After Effects after we were done. So I don't know if it was like a computer-wide macro that he made or specifically for. Oh, it was just on the laptops.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that was the other thing we did. We are using very powerful desktop workstations.
Yeah.
But we were all sitting around on laptops.
Which is
because
actually really cool.
Parsec is the coolest thing.
It worked really well, honestly. I got like one, like, hey, your net's maybe a little slow, but I didn't notice a single issue.
Dude, I got none of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works really well.
I know Sam said he was having some issues before
Sam's
y'all started.
GPU crashed on his workstation, so he had to ring the bell, run upstairs, restart his computer, run back downstairs, and keep going.
And that was his bell time.
Yeah, that was his bell time. But yeah,
That's great.
the renders will be on the Corridor Digital Instagram. By the time you're hearing this, they've already gone up. So just a good reason if you're not following us on Instagram to follow us on Instagram, because then you'll get to see those things when they actually go live. And I guess we'll do a poll or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what the best way to do that is. Maybe
Any predictions for what the winner's going to be? I think it might be you.
I don't know. We can't describe our stuff at all.
But no, but people are going to see it. This is going up like
comes out
days after the.
This is
Instagram.
probably what days? This is going up on Friday. Still though, it's like
Oh yeah, people won't have seen the. Well,
Oh,
no,
the
they'll see
video won't be done
The video
yet.
won't be out.
True, but they'll have seen the renders and they'll know the winner.
yeah, but they won't
Well,
know
they
who
just have to
that
look at
is.
the
They just know
comments.
that the render
Wait, when
See,
are we
these-
announcing the winner?
No, I think we can. You can tell me your opinions on the pictures because people can already see the pictures. They don't know who we don't know who the winner is yet, and they won't either.
I mean, they're all renders.
All right, Jordan. Wren doesn't want to commit.
I like the idea of anonymity here so that there's no bias going in and it's just pure artistic judgment on what was made.
Yeah, but
I haven't even
this
seen
podcast
them.
is happening after the Instagram is posted and people seen it and
But
voted.
before the final video goes out.
Right, but
You're right.
we can still talk about it.
I don't know. I'm just okay. Whatever. I thought they were all pretty cool. I mean, yeah, they're
How
renders.
was Matthews? How did Matthew do?
Matt did well. I think he was a little. I don't think he's used to doing stuff like this.
His was great.
Yeah, his was pretty
We
good.
had.
He had a couple like weird texture issues from like he had
That's
a lot
true.
of technical problems. So also Matt is not the Matt that you guys know. There's a new Matt in town.
Yes. At first you thought you were talking about me. I was like, what? I'm so confused. Yes, we have a new Matt in town.
So, as you guys know, we did the CGI generalist applications a while back. A bunch of people applied, a bunch of amazing artists.
Hundreds, like literally like
Hundreds.
400 people,
Yeah.
over 400 people applied.
So, Matt is one of the, I guess you could say one of the finalists. It makes it sound like a contest. It's not a contest. It's just a job application.
Well, yeah, it kind of got narrowed down to like a top 6 or whatever,
Yeah.
I think.
And so there's, in this process, you end up meeting a lot of really interesting artists. So Matt is one of them, and he's from Philadelphia, so we invited him out to LA for a week to spend some time at the studio, get to know him.
Is it
do
just
some
this
work with
week? It's
him.
not like 2 weeks?
Just this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
He goes back Saturday or Sunday.
Oh, wow. All right. Yeah, and then, someone else is coming in next week.
Oh, I probably need to book his hotel. Okay. That's great.
No, the other guy lives in LA.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So let's not tell him that he could have had a hotel. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a few people. I mean, it's always awkward for me to kind of like consider this stuff because it's like because of our reach, there's a lot of very, very talented people who would like
Yeah.
to work with us, and the problem is that we can't work with everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of things that we have to kind of keep in mind when it comes to trying to think of a new hire. it's not just what work can they do. It's like how well can they work with a team, especially in this type of environment where you're very likely going to be on, not just on camera, but you need to be like good on camera. And yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things, and so I guess this isn't exactly like a final interview with. I guess it kind of is. It's more just like, I mean,
Well,
you guys want to just come hang out with us for a week, see what happens?
yeah. Well, part of our hiring philosophy too, when it comes to hiring people here, is that like we're not like McDonald's where it's like, look, I need somebody to do this job specifically. Like I need a human processor, a robot. I give you input, you give me output. Like there's times when there's times when that happens, but that's not how we work here. It's more we need people who have artistic abilities or talent or a craft or a skill, and then what they're able to do will shape what we make with them, because we're not making a set product. It's not like, you know, I have an order for 1,000 of these widgets and you need to make 1,000 and they're exactly the same. It's, you know, the people around us influence what we do. It's what kind of video we're going to make this week. What kind of project can we do together? If we make a corridor short film, like what kind of cool effects do you know how to do? And then this comes together to influence and create the final product. So, you know, in terms of hiring people, it's more about bringing people in, experiencing kind of who they are and what they bring to the table, and then looking at what would that look like if you added that ingredient to the corridor stew. How would the broth come out?
Yeah. It's like, can you be flexible with your creativity? Like, can you, you know, you come in as one person and then you start kind of getting tested with all these different, like that. Like he wasn't expecting to do it. Bob Ross painting like under time, and then you start figuring out other skills you have and what you can add to the table. You learn something new about yourself all the time here, I feel like. And at other places that you get hired at, maybe more corporate places, you're not supposed to, like, they hired you for one thing and like you stay in your cubicle and you do that over and over and over and over again.
That sounds like the worst.
It does.
No,
well, and that's why people, you know, they watch these videos and they do want to work here so bad, because I think they do get a sense of that, because we're always evolving and trying new things.
Actually, I take it back. Some days I wouldn't mind just having a list of things to do, and I just do that one thing.
That's what Jake does.
Well, Jake makes his list, but some days I wouldn't mind just being like, all right, just gonna follow the guidelines and make my way through it.
I mean, that was like literally, I was talking about this a couple podcasts ago. It was like I specifically wanted to not have to make any decisions and just wanted to work on VFX and be told what effects to do. And I spent a week doing that. I was like, all right, got it out of my system.
Yeah, but here it's like after you do a week of, you're like, cool, now I'm going to go write a movie.
Yes.
Jump off a building.
I mean, that's really a blessing of Corridor, is like really getting to shift gears. And sometimes they are shifted unwillingly, but in a way that has its own magic, you know? But yeah, you're always going to shift gears, and it's not, sometimes it's a little fast, sometimes a little slow, but
yeah, like
usually we try to make it so it's like you get a chance to truly experience something, and then you get to move on to a different experience.
Yeah, I wish I could experience more jetpacks.
Well, at least you got to experience it once.
I know.
Was that last podcast when you're like, I want to ride a jetpack? It's like, you did ride a jetpack.
That sounds really fun.
It'd be really cool to have a job where I got to fly a jetpack. It's like, yeah.
That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it, though? But we didn't have a video come out on Sunday.
No, because it was 4th of July.
That's the official reason, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it is. As opposed to the unofficial reason. I mean,
the unofficial reason was we didn't have a video ready.
Well, truth be told, it's been a long-standing policy that we tend to not drop videos on large holidays like that.
That is true.
Because some people might be watching YouTube videos, but most people aren't. Most people are out doing something.
But we were trying, because we're working on this James Bond video, and there's a lot of effects, and it's a kind of a complicated edit. It's been taking a decent amount of time to put together. And the original plan was that was going to go out this last Sunday, before we really started, you know, realizing that, oh, Sunday's the 4th of July. We probably shouldn't upload on that day because everyone's going to be outside eating hot dogs. And we delayed it. But the plan was like to delay it like 1 or 2 days. But then like we're short. I basically didn't work at all last week, essentially.
Well, you were home with your surgery.
Yeah, I had a surgery that knocked me off. I was kind of supposed to work on that Wednesday, Thursday, but I was still just like really out of it. I opened the program and was like,
I figured you'd probably be taking the whole week off.
And then I flew out of town Friday.
Most people would.
Yeah.
You know, looking back, I cannot believe I came back to work the day after I broke my collarbone.
Yeah.
I'm
I literally
surprised.
don't know how or why
You
I
really
did
set
that.
the bar high for everyone.
Yeah.
I really hope I don't break a bone here. 'Cause you guys are going to expect
I
the
think
most.
it was slightly panic driven because I
Well,
was
you
right
had
in the
your
middle
Attack
of
on Titan
it was
video.
the Attack on
Oh,
Titan
yeah.
video.
Which was a really good video. And I think
Yeah.
you probably kind of had that feeling like this video is going to be a solid video.
I had that feeling, and that feeling just got strengthened after I broke my collarbone, and we ended up adding more stuff.
You took the
to
strength
it.
from your collarbone and added it to the film.
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, that was. I don't know. Yeah, it was mostly panic driven. It was like, I gotta finish this video, and I don't want to be in a position where someone else finishes it for me, so I gotta do it.
Yeah.
But this time I was like, James Bond VFX. I don't have to do that this week.
Now look at us.
I did kind of try on that Wednesday. I did open up the program and I started doing stuff, and I was immediately like, I'm gonna go lay down.
I mean, there's no way I was going to get that deepfake done last week either.
Oh, that deepfake, huh?
Yeah, well, it's going now.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. We're doing a Sean Connery deepfake.
Okay, you said it.
Yeah, you
There
guys
is a
see
cool
it.
running gag
cool.
with Sean Connery in the video,
Yeah.
which I don't want to spoil, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Hey, another news. Sam and I finished the Local Zero scripts.
Oh, that's right. You guys did that last
Yeah.
week, right?
Mhm.
Because you had the first episode done a little while back,
Yeah, a few weeks ago.
but then episodes 2 and 3
Yep.
finished.
Yep.
Are they good? Like, where does the
They're-
story go?
I love them.
How does it end?
I think it's really fun. How does it end?
What's the plot?
The plot? Okay, well, what can see, here's the thing. We're entering marketing territory here where I feel like I need to keep it enticing. So
That's fair.
Here's the
Elevator
plot.
pitch me.
First off, the name might change. Sam and I talked about this a little bit. We're not committed to it yet. The name might change to Level Zero from Local Zero. Because the plot is about this guy named Zero, who's a pro gamer. He's level 899. He wants to become 900. Actually, he wants to become 999, which is the highest you can get. But he plays this Battle Royale game. Like, there's different games in this world.
Classic.
He plays Battle Royale. There's only 5 people allowed into level 900 or above. So for Zero to get in, he has to beat somebody else who's 900 or higher. So first off, he has to get into a game that they're in.
This
Then he has
reminds
to
me
beat
of
them.
your what was it, the rhythm game you played back in the day?
Right, Rock Band.
Yeah.
Yep. Same with the drums, yeah. So Battle Royale games in this world are like 10,000 player Battle Royale games. And it's kind of like a Ready Player One VR style thing. Like everybody spends their lives online. It's no one.
I mean, the last part doesn't sound as great, but the first part sounds pretty dang cool.
This is the kind of world. It's like the year 2050 or something like that. It's 115 degrees outside all the time. Everybody stays in their rooms. The company, well, there's a global Omnicorp, similar to Amazon. You order stuff and they deliver the drones. They also run all the games or whatever. You earn credits in the games. You can use it to buy stuff from this Amazon-like corporation. So anyways, Zero goes in to this Battle Royale game, and one of the level 900 players is there. And Zero spends everything he has to try to beat this guy. And it's a big showdown. I won't spoil what happens. But along the way, Zero makes some decisions that Zero later regrets. And it causes his account to be wiped. And he gets set to 0. And so he has to start all over from level 0 and work his way back up to be level 900. Going through
man.
all the different games in this world, from Mine Shaft to Center Strike. So to what is it? What's our Mario Kart one? I can't remember it. Maximo Kart, that's the one. So he goes through all these different games. He's gonna work his way.
Dalo.
Dalo. Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, so it's gonna be similar to the cutscene, which is that video that Sam made on the Corridor channel. But the thing is, it's all in a game world. So having it look like it's in a game set in Unreal Engine, it's gonna be an interesting aesthetic. But it fits with what this world's supposed to be. Because a lot of these days, when people make video game based pieces, they either film it live action and you throw some points and health bars on the screen, but it's live action, or it's fully rendered CG like Wreck-It Ralph.
Right.
But, going out there and doing a narrative that's set in the game, but actually filming it in a game engine and building a game specifically for filming this, series within, it's going to be a really interesting way to approach this.
Have you guys thought about casting for it?
Yeah.
Are you looking at like inside corridor for casting or like getting actors
A
for
little
it?
bit of both. So the other thing that's really exciting about this is there are a couple things that make filming movies really hard. One of those things is finding actors. Another thing is costumes. Another thing is props and sets. Writing is hard no matter what you're doing.
Yes,
You
very
know?
much so.
And like with an animation itself is hard, but costumes are kind of free in a certain sense. You have to still design it, but you don't have to then make it. Having extras on screen tends to be free. Having as many characters as you want tends to be not free, but a lot cheaper than real life. So like one of the first things you'll learn if you start trying to shoot scripts for like television or writing scripts for television is they'll be like, yo, you have way too many speaking roles. You need to cut it down from 8 speaking roles to 3. And you're like, wait, how am I going to tell a story with only 3 people talking? It's like, you'll have to
Right.
figure it out because we're only going to go out and cast 3 actors that are good enough to talk
Yeah.
versus 8 actors that are good enough to talk. And if you're doing a union shoot, it's really expensive to hire actors that are talking on screen. There's a strict, the moment someone opens their mouth and says a word, they get $600 for that day, minimum. I could be
used to
wrong
hope
if the
that all
rules
the time.
changed, but that's my last experience with it. It's hefty.
When you do
So-
background work and then they allow you to speak, like they're all in the back, like, dang it. Like, all right,
was
come here,
the-
come sign your name.
Well, my favorite story of that is one that you told me about Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber, I think.
Oh yeah.
When he comes out of the 7-Eleven and is like, so bib gulps, huh? Yep.
See you later. And he walks away. Yeah. So those are extras and they're not allowed to speak. And Jim Carrey knew that. And so he goes and he purposely tries to hit him with a line to get them to talk. Not to like necessarily try to get them paid, but just knowing they can't say anything and he wants to play that reaction. So big gulps, huh? Well, see you later. Yeah. So you'll notice like in a lot of cartoons, there's tons of characters. Like The Simpsons, there's a million characters and they're
Right.
all distinct characters. You only need 10 voice actors who can,
Right.
they can do a bunch of different voices, you know, but you can just draw a new character. You don't have to cast an entire new human being who has to make their way physically to your set to be in that shot for that day just to say that one line. You know, you don't have to worry about that when you're doing animation. So I'm really excited with Local Zero to be able to not necessarily be constrained in that actor sense. You know, casting somebody to play Zero, who's like a legit actor, probably more voice actor than like actual actors we'll be leaning towards. And I think that's important so they can really invest themselves in that character and figure out the nuances of that character. But now we can write a script where we have 10 other speaking roles and Sam can do half the voices or all the voices. You know, it's not to say that Sam's going to play everybody else in this piece, but it's a thing where it just makes it a lot more accessible and approachable to telling a story without getting caught up in both the politics and the budget costs of every time you have a new character in your story. It means finding an entirely new human being in real life who you then have to clothe and feed and transport and place in a space and film.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, in that cutscenes video, Sam was the voice actor of many characters.
he was, yeah, and they're all very distinct. Like, because the other thing is, it's like, okay, I want a man who is 8 feet tall and pure muscle to play the Mountain in my Game of Thrones fan film. It's like, great. There's like 5 people out there who can fit that bill, and one of them can kind of act. Oh,
And the other one was the main
Mountain.
actor.
Yeah, and either way, none of them live in your state, so good luck. You know, it's like that's the other thing is like getting these unique, funny, kind of cool looking characters, or just even having people that look the part of their role.
It's very
hard-
restricting.
Yeah, it's hard to find that and somebody who can act at the same time who's not already working in the biz and going to cost a lot of money. So
Well, that's exciting. We're shooting Son of a Dungeon stuff next week.
that's right. We're
and I
doing
guess
all
this
our
is
green screen stuff.
partly kind of just. Well, I guess it's a very different workflow from Local Zero, but we're doing it all in real time. Sam's got this really, really cool system set up right now, and I'm really excited to see how it goes next week.
Me too. It's going to be very exciting. It's basically, you know, it's the Mandalorian thing without the LED screens. It's like that-
Yeah, imagine instead of an LED screen, it's a green screen.
Yep. But you still get to see it in camera, so you can match your lights manually.
Because the whole point of well, there's a lot of points. You know, I started writing one last year, a whole like video essay, kind of comparing old style visual effects to new style visual effects, with like the whole idea of intent, and you know, shooting on a green screen stage. You know, the cinematographer doesn't really have any context for what the scene's going to look like.
Yep.
And that's what makes The Mandalorian so great, or that technology, is because the cinematographer, the camera operator, the director, everyone has that context to be able to like know what the shot's going to look like because it's all been pre-made. Now, obviously, we lack the LED screens here to get the really cool in-camera look and the lighting interaction and all that stuff. But what we do get that is, in my opinion, almost more critical is that in the moment context of knowing what the shot's going to look like with the stuff in the background. You can change it later, sure. But being like, oh, if I move the camera just a little bit to the left this way, it actually lines up with the environment in a really cool way. And that, you know, it's tickling that taste bud in my mind just the right way as I'm holding the camera, which if you don't have anything to show you, you don't get. And that's why I think a lot of people over the last decade or two have started really kind of hating the green screen staged aesthetic. It's not that green screen itself is the problem. It's the fact that it's not being used correctly. Yeah. And I think this way we're going to shoot Son of a Dungeon does use it correctly.
I agree.
Hopefully, we'll see. Sam's still working on it. There might be a lot of technical issues, including the fact that I'm a barbarian supposed to be swinging around a big old axe, and I can't use one arm.
Yeah. You know, the thing about the green screen, you know, being used incorrectly in terms of like filmmaking and like cinematography, we tried to talk about that in VFX Artists React. We kind of touched upon it when looking at the end of the original Justice League fight. And we tried to talk about it with Mulan a little bit. And it's so hard to put into words, but it's something you can definitely feel. Yeah, now Mulan didn't necessarily have the green screen. Like, you know,
no,
we're just in a green screen
it never
box.
made it into the episode.
Yeah, we cut the whole segment because we had a hard time defining it.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where you watch it and just like, why is it all just like medium close shots? And like nobody ever interacts with their environment. They all stand there and it's all just shots of people emoting against a blurry background. And it's like, that's just what green screen shoots devolve into because there is no background to interact with. There's no chair to kick over. There's no table to slap with your hand as you walk by, as you emote. There's no corner to walk around as you know, talk and walk at the same time.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, now I'm actually getting inspired to like finish that script because I struggled with writing it last year and we ended up just moving on. I didn't get to finish it. But I think the reason why I struggled is I wasn't really able to find the point of it. I couldn't quite figure out the right way. And I feel like I've thought about it many times since then, and I think I might be ready to try to rewrite that.
Yeah.
Might be something we did with like my TED Talk video where, you know, I spent a lot of time writing this thing, and then I recorded it, and then Dean actually did all the clips, dropping in all the clips to edit it together.
Yeah.
I thought that worked well.
Essays are hard, man. They're really hard.
Like I don't like film nerd. Am I blanking on his name right now?
Film nerd?
No, the film writer.
Nerd
writer. Jesus.
Film writer nerd.
I knew it was nerd something. Yeah. You know, he puts out a new video essay every single week, and a lot of people do. There's a lot of channels that put out video essays all the time, and I'm just not a good enough writer to be able to like maintain like good writing output, and then also throw everything else you need for a good video essay into the mix.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, that's a nice little preview of stuff coming up and things we're working on, and also some deep philosophical personal insights. And yeah, guys, I'm not a pro on this stuff. I'm just sharing what I think. So I'm down to hear people's thoughts and discussions.
We're just dudes on a couch.
Let's be nice to each other.
Yeah, just dudes on a couch.
Just dudes on a couch and a dudette.
And a dudette.
What is the preferred female version of dude? Is it still just dude or is it dudette?
I would never want anyone to call me dudette. Personally.
I would call Jenna dude all the time. And at first she made fun of it, but then she just like accepted it. Cause dude is my gender neutral pronoun for everyone and anyone. I don't know if it's supposed to be that way, but it's like, I will literally call anyone dude, whether it's a baby or a grandfather, grandmother. Walk up to your grandma and be like, what's up, dude?
I would call like my mom on accident like dude or bro. I'd be like, oh my God, like bro. And she'll be like, stop that.
I thought you were going to say she was like, dude.
No, she hated it.
Bro, come on, dude.
Yeah. I love those two words.
Yeah, just.
It's weird how dude is a word that has managed to transcend like generations.
It
like,
made it through like its meme phase, you know?
Well, like that was a word that my dad in high school was using with his friends.
Isn't the hair on an elephant? Like an elephant's butt?
Dude?
What?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or is it a whale penis? It's one of the two.
What? I've heard. I know something of a whale penis is something.
Huh.
It's.
Anyway, what I'm saying is that like dude has literally been used for decades.
Oh no, dude is short for doodle, has such as Yankee Doodle Dandy. That's where it comes from. That's how long it's been in use for.
Yankee Doodle, dude.
Oh, a
Wow.
dork. A dork is a whale penis.
Oh, right. Right. Okay, I think I did know that
you
one.
dork. Okay. Wow. I'm really gonna start taking offense.
Yeah, that one's really been disassociated from the original meaning.
Well, I guess we should play you out, audience.
We don't have any instruments, so we'll just say thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks
Leave some
for
comments
watching if you were.
feel
Thank
like.
you so much.
Thanks for subscribing to quarterdigital.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
If you, I
If
hope you are.
But it's cool.
That's
You know,
awkward.
do
no
you?
worries. You know,
But we
it's
really
awesome.
appreciate it if you do.
we make this for free for you to enjoy on YouTube because we know that that's how you like it.
Yeah.
It's like, you dork.
All right, goodbye,
All right,
everyone.
It's been a long day. So long, everybody.
Bye, dorks.